Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and welcome to Commissioner in a Car. Today is the Golden Day is Saturday edition. We're going to be talking about Golden Day, but first, today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, and we have 14 days until the primary, 147 days until the midterm election. And today we're going to be talking about Golden Day. So what is Golden Day? Well, Golden Day is the day we term for the first day of early voting, because it's not just the first day of early voting. There are several things that collide on that day, which is it makes it one of the most important days in our electoral cycle besides Election Day itself. And of course, for the primary and the general, we all, both have Golden Days. And it's always on that first day, 10 days before Election Day. Election Day is June 23rd, so that makes this Golden Day Saturday, June 13th. So why is it so important? Well, as I said, several things collide. First, it's the first day of early voting. Second, it's the last day to register to vote in time to vote in the primary. There will be another deadline for the general later on, but this is just about the primary. And then, of course, it's the last day to request a vote by mail and have it mailed out for the primary. So you have your vote by mail stream colliding, an important day, the important day for registration, an important day for early voting, all happening on that day on Saturday, June 13th. So this was kind of created over the last few years as these deadlines started to merge. It kind of started in 2023. In the 2022 general, I believe it's 2022, New York State Legislature passed a law that moved our registration date from 25 days before the election to 10 days. That's what was called the constitutional minimum. That's because in the New York State Constitution, it said that you must be registered to vote at least 10 days before Election Day to be a valid voter. For years, though, it was 25 days because it said at least 10 days, there was the ability for election law to set a further date, 25 days. And that was done because of, we were dealing with older processes, mail forms, all of these other things. For years it was 25 days. Well, in the legislature in 2022 decided enough is enough. It's too long. People make up their mind to vote right before Election Day, so they moved it down to the constitutional minimum of 10 days before Election Day. However, right away, we started to see this merging of deadlines because in 2019, the legislature started early voting on the 10th day before Election Day for 9 days of early voting. So we already have the first round of early voting or the first day of early voting and the last day to register. So it was decided that a form of same-day registration would be allowed where people could go in and register to vote by affidavit ballot and vote on the same day. We tried to have actual same-day registration. That ballot measure failed in 2021, but this was not a way around it. It's just a coinciding of these constitutional minimums and early voting days. So it had created this Golden Day, and it created a weird thing in the law that said, well, there is a form of same-day registration now. It's on that one day, the first day of early voting, and we'll get into that in a second. But then, as vote by mail became more popular, and the legislature wanted to have us start counting that vote by mail, so it's part of our election night results, and that also started in 2022, but for a while there, it was 15 days, but now it is it was a soft 15 days where you had to request your vote by mail and be guaranteed a ballot would be delivered to you. They then decided that we're going to make a hard date, and it's going to be that 10th day, Golden Day, where a vote by mail application has to be in the office for us to mail a ballot out to you, because with the mail service being so slow and you have to postmark your ballot by election day, we wanted to make sure that you requested it in enough time for us to mail it to you, and you had enough time to successfully cast that ballot. So that's another reason why this is how this Golden Day formed over the last few years. So let's really dive into that, right? Okay, let's figure out what this means for all three of these big things: registration, early voting, and vote by mail. So as I said, Golden Day on June 13th is the last day to register to vote. This is what's called a receive by date. We have two different types of deadlines in New York: a file by date or a receive by date. A file by date means that it just has to be filed by the voter, which has been interpreted to mean that a postmark by the is a file. You've handed a form to the post office, and the postmark is the file. You may know that for ballots, right? You may know that for other forms of deadlines that we have for petitions and that kind of stuff. But this is what's called a receive by date. And receive by date means that the board itself must physically have that form in our hands, or electronically or otherwise, by this date. So it's different. So that really means that postmarks don't count. So if you're mailing something, you have to make sure you're mailing it. If it's a receive by date, you have to make sure you're mailing it so it's in our office and in our hands before election day, or before that deadline. So so that is a received by date. And registration on Golden Day is received by date. So forms have to be in the office, either dropped off in person or arrived by mail. Now, we are open that day, so on that Saturday we will receive mail. But the biggest difference here is how you're registering to vote. If you're registering online, there are two different forms of registration. The most popular is through the DMV, but getting more popular is the online registration through the Board of Elections offices. And the DMV, because that is not the Board of Elections, even though it's a government entity, it is not the Board of Elections. Those registrations are transmitted the next day to the Board of Elections. So that means that if you're registering to vote, updating your registration, whatever, you have to do that by Friday, June 12th at 11:59 p.m. if you're doing it through the DMV. But if you're doing it online at our website, which goes right to the State Board website, because that's going to the Board of Elections electronically that day, then that is actually good up until 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, June 13th, Golden Day. So that's important to know. If you're waiting till Saturday, and even if you're not, the safest way to do that registration is right online through the DMV, or bringing a form down to the Board of Elections, or just showing up, and we'll have forms for you there. But if you're on your DMV and you do it by Friday at midnight, on the My DMV section, it will count. Important to know, because this is a primary, you can't change your party to register to vote in a party to be able to vote in the primary. That deadline was back on February 14th. Remember, Fall in Love with Your Party Day? But that deadline was way back then. So, but if you're a new registrant, that means you've never registered in New York before, not in any other county, we do checks to make sure, then you will be able to register in a party for the first time and vote in the primary. So that's important to know. So that's registration. Now, early voting is pretty simple, right? Not so fast. So it is the first day of early voting, and that's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But remember I said the first day of early voting coincides with the last day to register to vote. So it was decided by the courts and the legislature that you can actually vote by affidavit. Oh, my turn signal's on. You're probably hearing that. Sorry about that. You can vote by affidavit, and that will register you to vote, and that affidavit ballot will be counted as good if you do it on Saturday, June 13th, on Golden Day. So our poll sites, last week's pod was all about early voting. We have 8 sites open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, June 13th. And of course, early voting does run until June 21st, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the weekends, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Monday, Thursday, and Friday, noon to 8 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So early voting is first day. Usually the first day and the last day of early voting are the 2 big days. Sometimes the last 2 days are bigger than the first day. It really kind of depends. Primaries are weird because it's a low turnout event, although I hope I'm wrong. So hopefully that will that we'll have a nice big surge on early voting days. Again, 8 different sites. There won't be any lines. We will do a weight tracker on our website, so check that out. That's early voting. And then vote by mail, and this is whether you're doing absentee or early vote by mail. And remember, the big difference between that is absentees, you need an excuse, and you can sign up permanently. Early vote by mail, you don't need an excuse, but you can only sign up for this year or this election. You have to re-sign up every election or every year, depending on the option you choose. So those both have a receive by deadline again on Saturday, June 13th. So again, because it's a receive by deadline, postmarks won't work. So if you mail me back an application and it doesn't get to my board by Saturday, I won't be able to process it. We'll try to call you, try to let you know. We'll send you out a letter, but we're not able to process it after that. So, if you're hearing this podcast and it's still early in the week, Tuesday or Wednesday, you might have time to mail that application back to us. You can go to our website, onvote.net, and print it off. But if you're going to our website, it's better to do the online portal. That it's an instant application. You can do that right through our absentee portal on our website at onvote.net. It goes to the state board portal, and that will be open till 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, June 13th. And because that portal is owned and operated by the State Board of Elections and the Board of Elections, anything done by 11:59 p.m. on June 13th will be processed. So we're going to be open on Saturday and Sunday. We plan on processing all vote by mail that comes in and getting them out as soon as possible, probably that Monday. Again, don't wait to the last minute. Mail is running slower. We all know this now, so don't wait to the last minute. And just because it's the last day to have a ballot mailed to you, it does not mean it's the last day to get a vote by mail ballot. You can still get one if you have somebody or yourself come into the board with an application, and you can vote by mail. And you can even do it in the office if you want to hang out there and do it there. Of course, if you're doing that, you might want to do early voting. Either way works. It's your choice. So again, it's a receive by. Postmarks won't work. So make sure that you're taking care to get those applications to us if you want it mailed to you. If you want to pick them up in person or have somebody pick them up for you, that will still be available till the day before Election Day, Monday, June 22nd. So, the weekly wonk. Well, that's it. That's it for Golden Day. First day to early vote. Last day to register. Last day to request a vote by mail ballot be mailed to you. And again, those last days are received by days. That means that the proper forms have to be received by the Board of Elections for registration and vote by mail. So that's it. All right, so this weekend I finished up my look at the state races with Assembly District 129. That was a fun one. I found out a lot of interesting details there about the youth of the district, how democratic it is. It is also the only district undergoing a primary. We're talking about that. Again, that's just information. I don't endorse in primaries because I'm the Democratic Elections Commissioner. I try not to endorse in any of the primaries going on. And just a reminder, the primaries that are going on: State Comptroller, Democrat, countywide. Assembly District 129, that's about 3/4 of the city of Syracuse and the towns of Geddes and Van Buren. Those are then County Legislature 8, 15, 16. 8 is the west side of Syracuse going into Geddes. 15 is a kind of a snaking U-shaped district that goes from Strathmore down into the South Valley and into the university area. And then the 16th is the inner city district and up into the university area. So those, and then of course the whole city of Syracuse is having a councilor at large primary. So those are the big Democratic primaries. There's a Republican primary in Pompey for a committee membership, and a Democratic primary in Geddes for a committee membership. But other than that, that's all that's going on for this primary. It's still pretty big, and all 146 poll sites will be open. 8 early voting sites will be open, and of course we'll be working our butts off to make sure that you get the results that you want and need. So that's what I got for you. Again, the weekly walk, I started with saying that I did AD 129, then I went into the primaries. Next weekend, God willing, I will be doing the town of Camillus. We're going to go into the caucus towns, the ones who nominate candidates via caucus and not via petition. We're going to be doing that starting on this weekend, although I'll probably take a break somewhere in there to do the results of the primary in middle of July, and then we'll get into county legislature races starting in August, and I may have to do 2 a week to get done with what I need to get done, so we can have as many of our as much as we can to get everything done before the general election in November. So, but next week I will have a podcast on Tuesday, normal time. It'll be about the primary election and with early voting underway. So we'll kind of give it a recap of the first weekend of early voting and just remind people of how they can participate in the primary election. And then the following week I will do a shortened podcast on Monday, the night before the big primary day. So that's what I got for you. You can follow along at DustinZarny.com or any of my socials. Just search for Dustin Zarny, CZARNY. Follow along. You'll get a notification when I post new content or podcasts or election news. So thank you very much for joining me with Commissioner in the Car. Enjoy your day and get ready for Golden Day. Bye-bye.